Hello. In this lesson, we will be continuing on with the Pythagorean theorem. So, to review, Pythagorean theorem only works on right triangles. We have a right triangle here with side lengths 10 centimeters, 24 centimeters, and an unknown hypotenuse. So remember, in order to use this Pythagorean theorem, we want to make sure that the hypotenuse goes in the C spot. So to find the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, we find the right angle. We look at the side across from it, and we see here that this is going to be our C because this is the longest side, which is the hypotenuse. So when we set this up, we get 10 squared plus 24 squared, and then we make sure that the variable goes where the hypotenuse is, x squared. We put 10 squared plus 24 squared in the calculator, giving us 676 equals x squared. We square root both sides to get rid of that exponent, and then we end up with 26 centimeters for x. For the next review problem, we have 50 meters for one side, x, and then 130. Once again, we make sure to find the hypotenuse by finding the right angle going across, and we see here that this is our longest side for C. So this time, our C is a number, so we place the 130 in that C spot. We have the variable where the B is, and then we have 50 where the A is. We simplify the 50 squared to get 2,500. We simplify the 130 squared. We subtract 2,500 from both sides to solve for that x. We get x squared equals 14,400. Square root both sides once again to get that variable fully by itself. And then we have 120 meters for that x. And so the last bit of review is we also use the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between 2 points, right? And so on yesterday's assignment, we had a point here. We had a point here. We said, all right, in order to find that distance, we essentially are going to construct a triangle. We drew a line going down. We drew a line going across. And then we did some counting. So that was our B, that was our A. And then that allowed us to find our distance of C. And so just remember that the distance formula and the Pythagorean theorem are very closely related. So we're going to continue on with our Pythagorean theorem, and so we want to find the area of this triangle. And so remember, in order to find area for shapes, we always use equations for area, and so we have the base times height divide 2. And so we think to ourselves, what information do we have so far? And so we know that our B refers to this number 9. However, we're going to need this H to plug in right here in order to fully finish it, right? Because as of right now, all we are at is A equals 9 times an unknown all over 2, right? So what do we do to find that H? We are going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So we can't calculate the area without this height, right? And so we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find that missing height, and then we're just going to use that number for the area, right? So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We plug in our 9 for our a. We have our variable. We can call that x, or you can call it h if you want, equals 15 squared. We do some simplifying once again. We subtract that 81 from both sides. We get x squared equals 144, and then we square root both sides once again, and then we get x equals 12. So remember, that's not our answer. That makes this side 12, and you know what, maybe you can call that centimeters. And so now we actually have all the information we need in order to calculate the area. So the area is 9 times 12, all divide 2. So that gives us an area of 72, and we'll call that centimeters squared. Oh, I'm sorry, that is calculated wrong. I did that in my head. That is 54 centimeters squared. So it is a two-step problem. So last one. Once again, we want to find the area. So when we set up our area equation, we see here that our entire B is this entire distance. And our height, we actually already have that height of 3, right? And so when we set this up, we have that 3 that we can plug into that H spot, but we don't have this B, right? Because this B is going to be 3 plus something, right? Because we know that this portion is 3, but we need the whole thing, right? So we need to get this little something portion in order to calculate it, right? So Once again, what are we going to do? We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem, but pay attention to the one we're using, right? We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem with this triangle here, right? And so we set up 3 squared plus x squared equals 6 squared, right? And so we solve for that x, and we get 5.19. And so that 5.19, that's this distance here, 5.19, right? But remember that the base is the entire orange part, so it's going to be 3 plus that 5.19 for that entire distance, right? So we get 3 plus 5.19, that gives that entire base a distance of 8.19, so this whole thing is 8.19, so now that's what we're going to use in our equation, right? And so we get 8.19 times 3 divide 2, giving us our answer of 12.285 square centimeters. Thank you for listening.